RiverWoods, Manchester, and for the RiverWoods group. The purpose of today is really kind of a high-level introductory session or a little bit more information about RiverWoods, the RiverWoods group, and our community and our contract. We have some slides and some photos, and joining us today are Web and Sylvia Anderson, who are residents here at RiverWoods, Manchester, and they'll just share a little bit of their story and insight with you following the presentation. Or at any time, feel free to jump in. This is very casual. As I mentioned, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the Q&A function. Sometimes it's at the bottom of your screen, sometimes it's up at the top. It really depends on the device you're using. And we'll address those as we go. So RiverWoods, Manchester is technically in the city of Manchester, but it's kind of deceiving. Manchester is a pretty big city, but this arrow indicates where our community is located in relation to the city of Manchester. So we're located in Northwest Manchester, kind of across the other side of the Merrimack River, past the highways, major highways, but we're located very close to major transit routes to get anywhere basically in the state, but in a very quiet, very kind of wooded neighborhood, if you will. Where this large parcel of land here is actually a nature conservancy. It's over 600 acres and it's right across the street from us. So although we have Manchester in our name, we're not really in downtown Manchester, but really close to all the conveniences. So here's a look at our campus map, if you will. So we have the main entrance. This is independent living. The lodge entrance is our healthcare center. And just to look at the different wings, up here is a road that goes to our cottages. And here's a look at our main entrance. Beautiful photo from the dusk hours. And this is our dining room, a lovely patio here. So the RiverWoods group is the largest independent group of not-for-profit continuing care retirement communities in New Hampshire. That's a mouthful. But our original campus was founded in Exeter about a little over 25 years ago. And it's grown to 3 communities within that campus: the Woods, the Ridge, and the Boulders. RiverWoods Manchester affiliated as Birch Hill with the group in 2016, and in April of 2021 officially changed our name to RiverWoods Manchester. And RiverWoods Durham is the newest community that opened in November of 2019. And SPE is the very technical term for someplace else. So someday if we find that the need is there, we will cautiously and thoughtfully continue to grow our family of communities. RiverWoods Manchester actually has a long history in the city. It started as over 150 years ago as the Women's Aid and Relief Society, and we started the first hospital and grew with the needs of the community. It became a CCRC in 2009, and it's still the only CCRC in Manchester. Our community offers 138 independent living apartments and cottages and a continuum of care, including assisted living, nursing care, and memory support if and when the time comes. And we talked about our 3 community system. Let's see, so we are one of the only Type B CCRCs in the state. And Type B basically lends itself to the specific contract type. So with the Type B, you're really only paying for care you need. So healthcare is priced well below market rate in this contract. It's not a purchase, so this is a long-term care contract. All of our documents are regulated by the state of New Hampshire insurance. Because this is considered prepaying for your future healthcare needs, you get a tax deduction for the year that you entrance, of the year of your entrance rather, and each year on your monthly service fees as well. Web and Sylvia might attest to the fact that it's a gift to your children as well, not burdening them with making decisions for you. And it's also a smart financial decision. There's asset preservation that's part of the contract with the entrance fee, and the tax deduction for prepaying your medical needs. Excuse me. So what we like to make sure that people know about our contract, it is the only one in New England that has a flexible entrance fee. So we only know of one other community in Texas that has a contract like this. It's so innovative. So what makes it flexible is you can save that 70% refundable portion of your entrance fee for asset preservation, future generations, or you have the option to use that 70% refund to offset the cost of future medical needs if and when the time comes. So it's, you know, flexible and makes your funds more predictable. And it's almost more like a type A, even though it's a type B. So I guess the one takeaway here is to do your research about any type of contract you might be looking at. So the basics for CCRC is we generally ask that you move in while you're independent before your health needs change. So you're making a smart plan for your future needs. We'd like, you have to be at least 62. We do have people who are interested in their 60s now. People are moving in younger and younger. But we ask that you be at least 62. There's care coordination throughout your lifetime. There's a wellness clinic on site with a nurse practitioner for any urgent, you know, kind of urgent care needs. We do have a social worker also for care coordination as your needs might change. All of our independent residents receive 30 free days of respite stay in our healthcare center. So if you're having a rough winter and you get pneumonia and need a little extra help, you can move to our healthcare center for up to 30 days free of cost, get back on your feet, and then move back to your independent living apartment. The door doesn't shut behind you. And then there's a discount off of monthly healthcare services for your lifetime, depending on the level of care. So assisted living would be $1,000 off market rate, nursing, and then certain levels of memory care. And it's really depends on what your needs are at that time. Okay, so here's a couple of photographs of our residents. We use all of our own residents as models, which is really fun and, you know, lends to the integrity of all of our presentations. But this is Nancy and Carrie, and yeah, that was a fun day. Here's a look at some of our residents in our fitness center. So it's a beautiful room. And here's Ralph working out, doing some boxing. This is Linda, and a great reminder that we are a pet-friendly community. We welcome all of your fur babies. Well, I think there is a limit on the number, but we encourage you to bring your pets along. Here's a look at our dining area and some different activities. This is Nancy. She's actually a docent at the Courier Museum downtown, offering tours. Here we go. Just some more photos of the area and around our campus. This photo was taken at Livingston Park, just a couple of minutes away. Here's Sylvia in the garden beds. And we have another gardener, Sylvia, actually here joining us today. That slide is perfect. I talked a little bit about the Nature Conservancy that's across the street, but if you are a nature lover, this is, you know, something that we love to share a lot of information about. Even if you're just interested in taking a break and kind of connecting and, you know, recentering with nature, it's right across the street. So This is Bill and Doug, and they're out for a walk on the trails. Bill is actually a nature blogger. Almost every day he's over in the Conservancy taking photos and writing about what he's seeing and observing that day. So these are his photos that he's agreed to share with us today. So here's the heronry in March and April. We have the rhododendron that bloom probably around June, May or June. All kinds of wildlife. The beaver families. And these are the boardwalks and trails down at Livingston Park. So here's a look at our front entrance. Oh, how could I forget? So the Nature Conservancy across the street is actually working in the midst of completing an ADA compliant trailhead that will go through the Cedar Swamp and features platforms to observe all of these beautiful, bountiful, nature gifts that we have. And that should be completed in the spring, but our community has been partnering with the Nature Conservancy on this project because it's really a beautiful asset for all of our residents and staff and guests of our community to use as well. So we'll take a look at some of the homes around our community. This is just a look at one of the kitchens. They're all the same size and they're galley style. So here's a look at the brown granite, white appliances and white cabinets. Some of our homes are currently under renovation, and depending on the style of home you're interested in, you can actually select the finishes and appliances. So here's another look at that home from the other angle. Here's a bright sunny dogwood model. Let's see, another look. Here's a stainless steel selection for the appliances in this home. Another look at the flooring option that's available here. I believe this is a poplar. This might be one of the largest homes that we have here at RiverWoods. And a look at some of the white countertops that are available. This one has a LVT flooring and stainless appliances. And we'll just take a glance at some of the different floor models that we offer. So this is an Aspen. It's a one bedroom. And it actually has a pass through to the bath. It's a nice cozy space. Here's a cedar. This is about 900 square feet, a little more than 900. This particular unit or model has an extra half bath, which is very handy for entertaining. Let's see, the Dogwood. This is available currently. I think there's a 2-bedroom, so it's an extra. There can be a wall here, and it could be an extra dining space or a den, or even a small extra bedroom.
That's what it's in the can is.
The fir and the juniper. So this is actually one of our largest homes that we have within the community, and there's one currently available. So my slides keep jumping around. Sorry about that. So there's in addition to the home that you might be interested in, there's a lot of common areas, including a library. We have a big dining room, private dining room for any kind of birthday parties or special events you might want to invite family and friends in for. We have a fully functioning mail room, a tavern that's resident run. This is actually a look at the living room, and the fireplace is right over there to the bottom right over the piano there. But there is an art gallery, fitness center. There is a fully appointed wood shop for any wood crafters that might be interested. Sunrooms and patios and balconies that are just lovely spaces in the summer. We do have a fully functioning salon and nice big wide hallways, which came in handy. And we do have a country store right here on campus for any of those necessities that might pop up. So here's a look at our living room, what we call the Nook. This was part of the expansion that RiverWoods completed in 2016. Well, it was kind of began in 2016 and was completed in 2018. So this is a fully functioning gas fireplace. And this is a nice common area where people gather for continental breakfast or to play bridge, craft classes, all that kind of thing. I think our knitting group gathers on the other side of the fireplace as well. So here's a look at our multi-purpose room. Some of our larger fitness classes are held in here with Bernadette, our fitness coordinator. There's Wii sports, and all of the meetings and concerts are mostly held in this space. And here's a look at our fitness center, some of the equipment that's available. And again, this is a photo of Bernadette leading a workout class. Here's a look at our library, which was renovated in the past 2 years, I believe, with brighter shelves, new carpeting, and we love these shelf lights that are built in. It really gives it a nice feel. This is resident run as well. We have librarians by trade, by craft, who, that was their career, and now they've transferred that love to our library here on campus. Actually, while we're speaking of the library, there is a program with the Manchester City Library as well. We have access to anything that's in their library. Just fill out a slip, drop it in, and a member of our community service staff will go pick up the book and bring it to the community. Just drop it off again when you're done. So this is a look from the 4th floor hallway, just kind of out across the front parking lot. So it's a beautiful view, and while we're in Manchester, you can see there's no city right out of our view from the top floor. This is a look at a couple of the different sunrooms that people have used. There's one of these on every floor, and they're a nice space to work on a puzzle or have a meeting. Some of them feature instruments. I don't know where that photo went. Here's a look at our wood shop. I wish I had more photos of that. It's really cool. I appreciate all the work, all the crafts that come out of there. And here's a look at our mailroom. Each of our residents have an inter-community mailbox and then a US postal mailbox as well. The mail gets delivered every day. Here's a look at Lynn, Maura, and Pat enjoying some lunch in our dining room. And a couple of other, this is again the dining room and a picnic at Livingston Park we had with wine. So you might be asking what's included in your monthly service fee. So every 2 weeks, there's a housekeeping service, and they schedule that according to what your availability is. There's a dining points program. So this might look a little bit different than other communities that you've been researching. We operate on a points program for a meal, so it's flexible, and people can opt in or opt out to a certain amount of meals if they like. If you enjoy cooking, you don't have to take advantage of our meal program, but it is an option. And there's a free continental breakfast each morning as well, with pastries and fruit. There's always coffee. And cookies in the afternoon as well. There's a full calendar of educational videos and lectures, social activities, fitness, volunteer opportunities, trips to dinners and museums, all kinds of different opportunities to take advantage of, maybe even zip lining. And I talked about the 30 free days of respite stay. We have pre-scheduled transportation to a number of different zip codes around Manchester. If it's a little bit longer drive, you can always schedule a car for transportation as well. There's always someone in the building 24 hours a day if something should happen. All of our residents receive an emergency response pendant. It's really another level of security. All of your utilities are covered. Every apartment has a storage cage. And one of my favorites personally is the winter car service. So if your car gets snowed on, our facility staff cleans off the snow, moves the car, plows the whole parking lot, and puts it right back where it was. Which I personally love, I'll just say that. And I don't even live here. That's very nice. Or if you want a shovel, I think that you're welcome to do that too. Let's see. So in the event that your needs change slightly, we also have a service called Enhanced Living. So if you need a little help with a big project around your home, or with organizing, or little help with cooking or things like that, it's staffed from within. So you know the people that are going to come and provide a little extra support while you're still in independent living. And it's a nice service that's available. The VNA is always here on site if needed. And we have a lab for weekly blood draws, blood pressure, and Rite Aid is here to deliver meds if you need them. We do have the wellness clinic on site with Allie. She's our nurse practitioner. It's a wonderful service that we offer here. And she coordinates with primary care physicians and specialists. She's able to do COVID testing. We had COVID vaccination clinics right here on site. Our residents, didn't have to go anywhere. I mentioned our pendant alarms. All of our bathrooms have pull cords in the event there's an emergency as well. And one of my favorite things about being a not-for-profit continuing care retirement community is a benevolent fund. So if you are living so vigorously, vivaciously that you outlive your assets through no fault of your own, then you can apply for benevolence, and the community will cover the cost of your monthly service fees. We won't ask you to leave. So the not-for-profit advantage is really nice, and actually one of the reasons that I chose to work for RiverWoods. Very person-centered. So if you are interested and want to take the next step, there's 2 pieces to qualification. We ask you to fill out a what's called the confidential data profile. So that just looks at your age and the size of the home that you're interested in, and your income and assets. And we put it into actuarial software that kind of tells us whether or not you would be financially qualified for RiverWoods. And then there's also a health assessment. So this is just a basic form that tells us about your current health status, any medications you might be taking. And then we also have an in-person assessment with our nurse practitioner. Really, that just kind of ensures that you're able to live safely on your own independently, that you can evacuate the building in the event of an emergency. If you have a prior any kind of diagnosis, RiverWoods doesn't disqualify people based on prior diagnosis, as long as you're able to live safely on your own for, I believe, at least a year, you would pass. So if you are approved, you can pay a 10% deposit on the floor plan that you would like, and you have 60 days to review our contract and agreement, and then you'd close. Your monthly service fees would start at closing, but that doesn't mean you have to move in right away. You can take your time and move in at your convenience, and then begin to enjoy all of the things that RiverWoods has to offer. Leave the work up to us. I know you have a smart plan. And there we go. What is your plan? The This is something that we hear actually a lot from people who've moved in, is that it's better to choose your change than to have to make a decision in a crisis or an emergency. This is just a reminder that we have this really interesting contract with the flexible entrance fee option. And Jen can share more about that. Oops. So here we go. I see a few questions, but I just wanted to give a minute or two to Web and Sylvia to share a little bit about themselves, why they made the leap, and what they love about RiverWoods. So I'll turn.
The first thing I want to mention, Kim, is it sounds pretty good. Where do I sign? So
You want to do the process of.
well,
Was it like that? Was it like that from day one? I mean, where did you begin?
I'll tell you a little bit about how we landed here. We lived in an old house that had been in my family for generations, about 20 minutes away from Manchester. So we reached a point where we realized we couldn't maintain it very well and so on. So, to do all the gardening and all the things that we like to do there. So we sat down with our family one day and we said, shall we stay here and haul in the troops and the help and all that, or shall we make a move? And our three children unanimously said, it's time to move. So sadly, I had to give up this place that I'd been involved with since I was a teenager. But, time came. So then we soon heard about, we had heard about RiverWoods. We knew about it, but we didn't realize that they had one over in Manchester, because we knew about the one in Exeter, which was the original one. So we came over to a kind of an open house thing and listened to the spiel about the place. And on the way out, they had a book to jot down your name if you're interested, and I made sure I walked right by that real quick. And of course, Sylvia put her name down, and so here we are. So with that, what else do you want to add?
Well, there are a few things that happened in between, like cleaning out a house, and everyone faces that. One of the things I found comforting when we did get here was that, everyone understood what you were going through because they had gone. And there was something it was nice to feel you're among, other people who've gone through it, but also have gotten beyond, I've got to get settled, and able to then look at what life is and what you have and what we do have here. And we've been here not 2 years. We moved in just the week before the pandemic. Everything closed down for the pandemic. And since then, we've reflected on the fact that, yes, COVID hit, we were closed down, but we were not isolated. There were people that you would see in the corridors. We were wearing masks, and we felt the security and the safety of what the staff was requiring of us. There was no dining. We picked up our food, and so we ate in our apartment. But it really was, in spite of everything, we sensed the staff, how supportive they were, how friendly they were, likewise the people, the residents. So it just started out with a very good feeling, and it didn't take that long, in spite of COVID, to really begin to know people and have someone that you could visit with, if not in your apartment, in one of these common spaces that you've shown. In the summer, and last summer, there was no vaccine. So they set things up so you could use them outside. They put a canopy outside with a space. So people met outside where it felt safer. And then things, when we got vaccinated, and we were updated constantly about what the status was in terms of when we would get it. They organized us. They did testing first. But then when the vaccine was available, we all had that. So, and then when the booster came, we got that.
The substance of this is that this has felt like living in a bubble. We were in a very protected area here with all kinds of precautions. So it was really unlike the rest of the world. We were allowed to go out. We could go shopping, wear a mask, but we limited ourselves. We didn't do any more of that than we really had to. And it was harder on some people than others, but I found it pretty comfortable. I just wanted to add on a few things that after we got by this pandemic, we got into the real way this place operates. And each one of us has found our own little niche of things. You can't possibly take advantage of all the things that are going on. So you make friends and you find out what they're doing and you link up with people. For example, Kim mentioned the bridge group. Well, I've picked up on playing bridge since I was in college just about. And so every Tuesday afternoon we gather in the living room, or the Nook as it's called. And whoever shows up, we'll have 2 or 3 tables, usually of bridge. And there's also a fellow who comes once a month and teaches bridge, who happens to be a personal friend of mine. The only trouble is he teaches more information than I'm ever going to be able to absorb, but that's all right. And so that's one of my particular interests. I have some casual interest in the woodworking, but I haven't really gone down to use it, but it's available. And we all find little things that we like to do and make friends around those things. You don't have to embrace the entire community at the same time. And you certainly have found interesting things.
One of the things that I love to do in Chester at our home, and I have all my life, is to garden. And I quickly found out that asking permission to do things that you then could pick up and do them. So 2 others, actually, one other friend, Elaine, and I started, and then there was another 3rd person who came in as very much a gardener. In fact, she's a master gardener. So there are 3 of us who really kind of go around campus, and we can name 9 gardens around here that we've kind of had participated and had our hands in. So all summer I was very involved on the gardening. And yes, we didn't sell our house till October. So I was able to, before we sold it, I could dig up some perennials that like shade and put them in the memorial garden. So I had all of that to work with, kind of bring some of it, realizing that when it comes, it gets put here, it belongs to the property. But those of us who did that, we said, well, yes, they belong here, but we take care of them. So that's the kind of approach we've taken.
So, some of us come here and bring our pets. Sylvia came here and brought her plants.
We appreciate all of them. They're beautiful, and all that you do around the campus to keep things beautiful.
And then someone said, well, what do you do in the wintertime? Well, it's something called Bernadette in the fitness room loves to have plants. She's got wide windowsills. So we see that there are plants in the fitness room. And if we have extra plants, we can put them out on the counter and say, I would like a home, and find homes for them. So, but one of the other things that I've done is I signed up to be a server in the tavern. The tavern is run by the residents. And on Tuesday and Friday nights, you can go down from 4 to 5:30. And you can buy a little chit for $2 and go in and get a drink. And it's a wonderful time, again, to meet people, to just have social time. And so that's twice a week that's offered.
Kim, I'm noticing, I think there are a lot of questions coming in. Can you?
We do have a lot of questions. Yes. Yep. First question is, are there storage areas available? And yes, every home in the community has a storage area. It's located in kind of communal storage areas, and they're almost like we call them cages. I think they kind of vary in size depending where they're located, but generally like a small storage unit.
4x4, but it's very tall.
Yes. So we've seen, people put shelves and racks in there, or hang things, and get creative if you need a lot of extra storage. Next question is there a pool on site? We do not have a pool here at RiverWoods Manchester, but we do partner with the YMCA in Goffstown, and there is transportation provided, or there was once a week, I believe, to use their pool and participate in all of their classes and aquatic activities. And our fitness coordinator, Bernadette, if she has her way, we would just throwing that out there. Is there an arts and crafts studio? I don't believe we have a specific space, but there are those common areas that are used for arts and crafts. And when we have classes, they're generally held in the Birch Hill room, which is our multi-purpose room, or in the living room on those tables. But there are we just had a craft fair that was last week, the end of last week, and there are some very crafty people that live and work here. It was very impressive. So let's see, what percentage of the population is from outside Manchester? So I can speak to this just in the 3 years that I've been with the RiverWoods group. I would have to say it's probably about, 40, 60. We've had people who move in from Texas, from Georgia, from Maryland, and then people who are more local from the Manchester area. Web and Sylvia are from New Hampshire as well. But what would you both say?
Well, it's kind of interesting. We had already had Manchester connections. There's a church in the city here that we've been a member of for a while, and sort of thing. So it made kind of sense. And happens that our 3 children all live in New England, and not right next door, but nearby. And so what you find is typically somebody will be here and you'll say they came from Ohio, for example. How come you came here? Well, I have a daughter that lives down in Boston or whatever. So there was a reason to come back to this area. On the other hand, we have a good friend who has 3 kids, one in, Virginia, one in Colorado, and one in California. So, but he was employed here. He worked for Southern New Hampshire University, and they had a house here. And so actually they don't live here, but now that I think of it, but anyway, people like that, there's all kinds of reasons, mix and match, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes you wonder why, but this is a magnet. A lot of people just have come for this, and whatever other reasons they would be other places, this has been the magnet that pulled them in here. And so I think it's really quite a remarkable, diverse group of people, and you drift around and make friends with people, and other people you acknowledge and so on. May not have much in common, but there's a certain kindness and a certain level of you always say hello to everybody in the hall, for example. It sounds kind of silly, but there's just a warmth amongst the general public, kind of a tone that's been established by some miracle, and it seems to perpetuate itself, which I find really quite remarkable.
One of the things when we came in is they have someone who will kind of keep in touch with you if you have questions, introduce you to some of the things. I mean, how does the dryer work, or in our case, the stove, I hadn't used an electric stove. I mean, some seeming silly things. And recently there was someone who was looking lost in the hall near the elevators. He said, "Can you tell me how to get down to the main desk?" And I said, "Are you new?" He said, "Yes, I moved in yesterday." So it's very easy to ask people questions, but to have someone who's kind of, you can go down and have dinner with now. Of course, we couldn't because it was pandemic when they came in. But just having these connections, and you find very quickly that you get passed from one person to the other. So you begin to get to know people. And so you're not feeling, isolated. If you move in here and I'm by myself and I don't know anyone, there's always someone who can knock on your door, leave a note. Someone who moved in said they really felt they wanted to be, in a sense, left alone for a week. And then once they're ready, they just are right out there with everyone. So, you know, you get to know people that way. And it's been fun to kind of be an ambassador or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
To people as new people come in. And it's not, it's for me, it was fun roaming this building. From that one view, you can see how I talk about it, the octopus, a wing goes out and then it jogs. And it's a little bit of a challenge to find your way, but you know, for those of us who like to explore, which I do, you just walk the halls, walk the corridors. In fact, someone mapped out a mile walk and not repeat the same corridor, you know, any time.
Perfect on those really bitter cold winter days, right? Or if it's sideways and you still want to get a little movement in, but not necessarily go into the fitness center. Yeah.
But I gotta warn you, it's a very confusing building because on the first floor, you can only walk out one side because the other side is smack up against the hill. You go up to the second floor, you can walk out one side, but you can't walk out the other side because you're looking down into the parking lot below. So it takes a little while to kind of get oriented. Some parts of this building I still haven't explored yet. So there's more to look forward to.
Oh, there you go.
And another thing I have to talk about, you've talked about the Nature Conservancy, but one of my first inklings about this building was reading the Nature Conservancy magazine. And in it was a photo of a man hugging a tree. Well, you know, months later, I found out it was Bill Foss in the article, and it mentioned he was living in a place called Birch Hill. And so just go out across the road from us, go down. It's fairly steep. You need sticks to get down there. There's a pond. And so I'm on Bill's blog, and daily, when I first came, it was all about the great blue herons. 16 nests. I mean, I was bowled over that you could actually count that many. And then you'd hear the story. And then we've got beaver. There have been pictures of a bear, deer, you know, all kinds of animals and wildlife.
I'm keep thinking about all these urgent questions coming in from people, and I can't get to see them.
So
the questions I need.
So Christine's asking, if we enter independent living, but one of us needs more assistance, how would that work? And so that's one of the most, you know, one of the benefits of community is that if your partner or husband or wife needs a little more care, they can move to our health center and you're right down the hall from them. It's not far. You're not getting in a car to drive to wherever they are. And if it's temporary, they would move back, or if it is more permanent, you know exactly where they'll be and who will be caring for them. And the next question is, let's see, demographics available on the age of the population. So the age of our population has gotten a lot more diverse in the years that I've been here. I think one of our youngest residents among a handful is probably 65 to late 60s and all the way up through centenarians. So it's a big age range. Probably the average would be late 70s through mid 80s. I know that's kind of vague, but it's really become a lot more diverse. RiverWoods is just RiverWoods. So we are independent. We are an independent a family of communities. We are not owned by a large national entity or anything else. We just have RiverWoods Manchester, Exeter, and Durham, and the healthcare centers that go along with it. We are affiliated with a lot of national organizations that oversee continuing care retirement communities, though, if that's what affiliation means there. How far away is that pool? I think the Goffstown YMCA is probably about 10 minutes. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it is about 10 or 15 minutes. How often do we have power outages?
Oh,
Oh,
We have a
generator.
big, beautiful generator that powers this entire building. And if the power does go down, it might just blip for a minute, but ordinarily it's pretty seamless. That you wouldn't even notice. They keep the generator running in top condition and test it. I believe once a week it kicks on by itself and just runs. So that's not really an issue for us. We just had a beautiful new cooling tower and heating system installed as well. It was a big project, but we're happy that it's up and running now. Occupancy. So our current occupancy as of yesterday was about 86 or 87%. And we have 3 apartments on hold for residents to move in between now and January. So the next question is, what happens if a resident needs assisted living care, nursing care, but there are no spaces available? So that is our pledge to you as a continuing care retirement community, that there will be space available in our healthcare center. That's the benefit of moving in as an independent resident, and our pledge to people. If there is some sort of specific high level kind of skilled nursing item, it would be provided in a hospital or in a rehab before you would come back to our healthcare center. Let's see, how long is the current waiting list for a 2-bedroom unit? This is an interesting question. We have actually a 2-bedroom unit that's available or coming available. It's a Juniper. It was the floor plan that I believe was the last one on our several slides ago. We have one of those coming available, this floor plan here. There is a healthy waiting list for our cottages. And we also have a larger 2-bedroom unit called the Hawthorne. There are only, I believe, 6 of those in the entire community. And so that could be a couple of years. Next question, is HVAC controlled within each apartment?
yes.
Yep. All of the apartments and rooms have their own thermostat and unit to heat and cool. Is there a switch over from heat to AC that limits the availability to the building? I don't believe so.
Throw the switch.
Yeah, but it's just controlled within, there's a heating and a cooling. It's kind of separate and you just control it within your own home.
Each room has its own unit and own thermostat.
Yep. So if you like it hot, you can have it warm. And if you are a polar bear like me, you can live that way too.
If you want a cool bedroom, just close the door and no turn the heat on.
Right. Crack the window a little if you want. What's the distance to the nearest fire department, ambulance? That's a good question. I think there's a fire department right in Hackett Hill.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So probably 2 miles down the road, there's a fire department that would, I believe EMS would deploy from that station as well. Not it's off of Front Street somewhere. So they're here within a matter of minutes if needed. Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions. There's a few items in the chat here. Let's see. Oh, it looks like most of these got transferred to the Q&A. Let's see, we have a few more minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I've heard a couple of people say that they love the fact that they could get out and easily find a supermarket or shopping, yet you live in a community that feels, you feel like you've got trees around and you're feeling nature, but you still can get out. If you want to go to the theater, there's a theater downtown Manchester. There are a lot of different things. There's a museum in Manchester, things that are available, and the bus will take you there too.
Yeah.
The bus goes as far as Boston to the museums and to the symphony and so forth. So, they're not as regular as the more local things, but they're really not, we're not restricted just to the immediate community.
Yeah, it's lovely. They go up north to the White Mountains. I think Sylvia took advantage of a zip lining trip.
Right.
Zip lining excursion we had recently, which sounds pretty thrilling. I'm the person who went skydiving this past summer though, so I can relate to that thrill. Doesn't sound scary to me. But it's really nice to have all of those different options. I think there was a hot air balloon trip that some people were interested in at one point. And really, if you have an interest, if there's something that you want to do, really all you have to do is express that interest. And a lot of times the resident services and community life teams will make it happen, or find other people who have the same interests and can start a committee or a club or something like that right on site.
One of the things we have is the forum. And so people can come, anyone can come to the forum, and it does give everyone a chance to talk about what they would like to do, which is how the zip lining came up, and talk about the hot air balloon. It was at one of these big meetings where people just say, this is what I'd like to do. Is it possible? And then Riley, somehow looks these things up, and that's how so it really does get generated by the residents. You have a chance to say, I'd like to do something, and if it's possible, they'll work it out. And then have sign-up sheets. A lot of reasons.
Confirm your interest, yes.
Yes.
So we have one more question from Kathy. She's asking about the contract options. So the way I'll answer this is to briefly explain that in CCRCs, there's basically generally there's three different contract types. There's type A, which is labeled as kind of all-inclusive. In a type A, the entrance fee and the monthly service fee will be a little bit higher. It's kind of like all-inclusive insurance. So when you move to a higher level of care, if and when the time comes, your monthly service fee doesn't change. As I mentioned, RiverWoods Manchester is a type B. So in this type of contract, the insurance is defined. So the entrance fee is lower than type A, and the monthly service fee is a little bit lower. And the monthly service fee only increases if and when your healthcare needs change and you move to the healthcare center. With our flex contract, you can offset the cost of that increase in monthly service fees by drawing down from your entrance fee, or you can pay that additional cost out of pocket. The other cool thing about a type B contract like RiverWoods Manchester is that we work in conjunction with long-term care insurance policies. So a lot of people move here because they have a long-term care insurance policy that they've had for many years or have been paying into because they've worked together. You can bill the insurance for that increased cost in monthly service, and the insurance will pay RiverWoods. So your out-of-pocket doesn't change if you have a policy like that. I think that's all the ins and outs of a type B. And then type C is often akin to kind of a senior rental product. A lot of times there's little or no healthcare. If there is, it's generally market rate that you're going to be paying. Whereas at a type A or type B community, you'll get price on healthcare services well below the market rate. And that's kind of the other benefit of healthcare or long-term care contract like this. So I hope that answered the question and it wasn't too confusing. But type B, we're one of the only type Bs in the state, but it's an interesting option. Let's see, Alton is asking, okay, thank you. I answered it correctly. Waiting time for an aspen. We actually have a few aspens currently available that are just finishing with renovation, and I would encourage you to schedule a time for in-person or virtual tour if you want to have a look at one of those and see the community. Let's see. So I don't see any other questions. Last call. Or you can always reach out to us. You can contact Jen or Carmen or myself. My name is Kim here at RiverWoods, and we can answer any additional questions you might have. We did record today's session, so a copy of the recording will be sent out so you can review this again, or if when you're reviewing it, you think of additional questions, you feel free to reach out anytime, or you can share the recording with a friend who might be interested as well. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you so much, Sylvia and Web, for your time today and sharing your thoughts with us. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, I'd like to say it's nice to see everyone, but I haven't seen anybody except ourselves.
Maybe we will sometime soon, though.
Let us know if you're here.
All right. Yes,
You make the
absolutely. Ask
decision.
for Sylvia and Web, right?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.